welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, welcome. My name is Ella and I make videos on Wicca and Witchcraft, and I'm currently trying to kind of finally get behind a schedule, so I'm trying to post once per week and hopefully that will go as planned. So if you would like to see more, do stick around. And of course, first and foremost, I would like to say I hope everyone is doing okay. I hope you are as good as possible considering the entire situation going on right now. First of all, I wanted to actually make a quick announcement. I have just launched my own website, which I am really excited about, and yeah, so I have a crystal witchcrafty kind of shop called EK Stones, and I just wanted to let you guys know I have now moved from Etsy to my own website, which was a really big step for me. My Etsy shop is still open, it's in the description box below as well, of course. But yeah, if you would like to check out my website, I have my own blog on there as well. So I'll be writing articles about Wicca, about witchcraft, so you can go check that out. I will have all my social links in there. I'll have, you know, my business email in there in case you are curious about collabing with me, for example, right? So do have a look if you have time. It would mean a lot to me. And yeah, let's get right into the video. So for today's video, I once again did a Instagram poll on my Instagram asking what kind of videos everyone would like to see, and I had a couple of suggestions and I have written all of them down, and one that stood out to me the most was tips for beginners. So this video is by no means the only one on YouTube. A lot of people have done this type of video, and I do suggest you to check out those videos as well, because a lot of information is in those videos, and I'm not discussing everything in this. I'm just telling you my tips and the things that I consider important for a beginner witch or for a beginner Wiccan. So that is why I do want to make a little disclaimer saying these are the tips that I think are important. These are from my personal experience, from experience that I've had with other people and other Wiccans and witches that I've talked to, and so yeah, just keep that in mind. And of course, these things might not be considered important to someone else, so just, you know, take that into consideration when you are watching this video. So these tips are also really applicable for anyone. You don't have to be a Wiccan. If you are just generally kind of interested, I'm sorry about puppy footsteps, by the way. If you're just kind of generally interested in witchcraft, or specifically Wicca, of course, then this video is still really suitable for you, regardless of the path that you follow or the specific religion, let's say, that you might be following. Perhaps you are also just really curious about all of this witchcraft and Wicca sort of thing, and you haven't really done a lot of research yet. This might be one of the first videos, if not the first, that you have stumbled upon. If so, welcome. Once again, thank you for watching. And yeah, so let's get straight into tip number 1. So here are 15 tips for a baby witch. Read as much as you can. Now, I do think this is a very general tip. I think a lot of people have kind of said the same thing, but I just really wanted you to understand that reading is going to really get you started with Wicca, with witchcraft, whichever path you're trying to look into a little bit more. You really want that foundation, because in the end of the day, if you haven't read what you are actually trying to do, you won't understand it fully, you know? So I definitely suggest you to do a little bit of theoretical work and look into what this all is about, look into the history, look into, you know, the different paths that you can follow, what Wicca even is, what witchcraft is, where it comes from, you know, all of that is really important for you. And then with time and with more books that you will be reading, you are just going to really get more and more knowledge and more experience as well. So do definitely do your research. You can find books online that are for free, you can find articles online, you can watch videos such as this, you know. I've even seen videos on TikTok nowadays that are quite informative, as long as you do your research. Because getting straight into like magic and spellcasting and rituals, it's not going to really work out for you if you don't have the basic knowledge that you need, and you'll only really get that through reading, through researching. You know, you're just going to stumble in the dark, and it's not just going to really lead anywhere. And one note about all the books, I understand that there's a lot of books out there, and I will shortly be filming a book recommendation for you. But if you haven't already seen a couple of my previous videos, I do actually recommend a couple of books, especially in my Wicca 101 series. And I do recommend you to have a look at that series if you are trying to look into Wicca. It's more specific to Wicca than necessarily witchcraft, but a couple of the books in those videos would still work even for just non-Wicca specific paths. Tip number 2 is to definitely write everything that you have read, everything that you have watched, everything that is slightly interesting to you, write it down. Now, writing down, I think, is just one of the ways for your brain to really hold on to that information that you have just gathered. But it also means that in a year's time, in 10 years time or whatever, you're able to look back at your start, and you're able to look at the journey that you have already walked, and you're also just able to refresh your memory in case you need it. Honestly, writing everything down is just also a great way for you to start your Book of Shadows. If you don't know what a Book of Shadows is, I do have a video. I'm linking it somewhere up here, I never know. I'll link it somewhere in the description box as well, of course. But essentially, a Book of Shadows or a grimoire is a journal for you as a witch, as a Wiccan, for you to keep everything important. So any kind of information, so rituals, basic knowledge, your experiences, your thoughts, everything in one place for you to refer to. So write everything down. It'll help your growth massively. It'll help your brain remember everything, and it'll just really be convenient for you throughout your path. Tip number 3 is take your time. So I think a lot of people, when they first look into this kind of direction, they are overwhelmed because there is a lot of information nowadays. There's so many books, there's so many websites, there's so many YouTubers, so many TikTokers, everything, right? Instagrammers. There is just an overwhelming amount of information, and it can kind of be a little bit intimidating, and that is normal, don't worry about it. But the one thing that I think you should keep in mind is you have time. You don't have to learn everything in a week. You won't learn everything in a week, not even in a month, not even in a year. It takes a long time for you to really learn everything. I haven't learned everything yet, and I've been doing this for like over 10 years now. So I think even when you're 80 years old or whatever, you will still have something to learn. You'll learn your entire life long with in general life things, and that applies to witchcraft and Wicca as well. You'll always be learning, you'll always know something new that you haven't before. Perhaps things also just change with time, that are worth learning. So just take your time, don't stress over learning everything at once. You're not gonna become a witch in a week, so don't even try, if you know what I mean. Like, you don't have to stress over things like that. You're here for the experience. You're not here to become something that is just unachievable for anyone, like that. It's just not going to happen. So you might as well enjoy the process. You might as well take a nice walk through the park instead of rushing through it. Tip number 4 is to utilize the community and ask questions, become friends with people, join a community. There's plenty of places that you can look for these communities, maybe even in your area if you're really lucky, but for the most part, Facebook is a great way to join a community. Instagram communities exist, Reddit of course also. So yeah, definitely have a look into joining one of these communities or groups or multiple ones of these, and then you can really just learn from other people. They've probably already made certain mistakes and so on, and they can just help you with getting knowledge and gaining experiences and just with general help, general questions. So definitely make some friends, make some connections with other people. Once again, it's just going to help your own growth and enhance your experience once again. A lot of us are solitary practitioners, but I do think a lot of us still have social media friends in particular. And honestly, it helps me a lot because it helps me get inspired, reconnect with my own craft in case I'm feeling a little uninspired sometimes, or I'm just feeling a little low sometimes. It helps with just feeling a sense of love and appreciation and being welcomed, especially if you are a broom closet witch and you might not necessarily have the support from your family or your friends. Then having a community online is a lifesaver, honestly. Tip number 5 is don't take everything that you read as law. A lot of people make mistakes, a lot of people have different experiences to you. Some people might also just not have the best intention, so just make sure that whatever you read or whatever you see online, make sure you double check it, make sure you triple and quadruple check, fact check it. Even my own stuff, even my videos and even my content, make sure that if I make any statement and you're not quite sure about it, just Google it. Have a look if what I'm saying, for example, actually makes sense to you, if maybe I have made a mistake, other people make mistakes. Just be sure to keep in mind that we are humans and sometimes we just make mishaps, we make mistakes. False information is a thing. Even if it is in a book, even if that book looks really, really official, that book still could contain mistakes and errors. So just to be on the safe side, check it with more sources than just 1 or 2. And yeah, I mean, we are in a information age right now, so gaining information is really, really easy, so do utilize that to your benefit. Tip number 6 is to know the difference between witchcraft and Wicca. A lot of people might realize that they are drawn to this kind of thing, but then they think it doesn't work for them, or you know, they don't really understand that Wicca might not be for them, but witchcraft might be. So understanding the difference between witchcraft and Wicca is essential. Also understanding that Wicca is a religion, and with religion comes respect. So do make sure that when you are interested in Wicca, that you treat it with respect, as with Christianity, as with, you know, Islam or Hinduism or Buddhism. If you enter a new religion, be respectful, be open-minded, and yeah, that's really that tip right there. And this kind of leads me into tip number 7. So Wicca is not for everyone, and Wicca might not be for you. And that's absolutely okay, because there's plenty more paths that you can discover. Wicca is a religion, and with that comes a set of rules, let's call it, or a set of ethical beliefs and so on and so forth. You know, you do have a god and a goddess, and sometimes it just doesn't align with everyone. That's normal, that's okay, you know, just as other religions probably don't always align with you either, so just do keep that in mind. You don't have to force it. I think a lot of people are worried that when they get into Wicca that they now have to stick to it. And to a certain degree, I do think it's a good idea to try it out thoroughly. That goes back to the respect thing, you know, don't just jump in and jump out that quickly. But once you have discovered that that's not really for you, that's fine, that's cool. Just make sure that you don't put that pressure on yourself, you know, it's not gonna help really. And have a look around. Maybe there's something else for you out there, you know? Maybe Wicca was simply the stepping stone for you to find the path that you are meant to be in. So yeah. Tip number 8, protect yourself. Now, I mean this in a physical sense, in a mental sense, and in a spiritual sense. So when you are getting into witchcraft, getting into Wicca, you know, it is important to make sure that you understand how to protect yourself and to make sure that you do have your boundaries in place, make sure that you are safe, you are practicing safely. There are spiritual beings, there are people that not necessarily always have the best intentions, so just make sure that you know how to protect yourself, that you do protect yourself. You know, the knowledge alone is not going to do it. You actually have to take action sometimes, but just make sure that you know how to protect yourself. It is easier to protect yourself than to later having to like go a couple of different steps to cleanse whatever you may have called into your life. A lot of people don't necessarily like witchcraft, a lot of people don't like Wicca, and you don't necessarily know what these people are capable of. Not saying that everyone is like evil around you and that you have to start being paranoid, just something to keep in mind. Some people might actually have some energies that you don't necessarily want in your life. That goes even just for a day-to-day basis, you know, you don't necessarily know what people outside are going to do. Just as you would lock your front door when you were leaving, you would probably also want to just in general protect your spiritual being and your soul. Tip number 9, don't worry about tools. Fancy tools, fancy altars. Tools are an extra, they're not a necessity. You can really do anything in the craft without any tools. You don't need tools. Tools are a beautiful extra, but they're not really necessary at all. I think a lot of people, they stress out, oh my gosh, I have to buy this, this, and that. You don't. First of all, if you want tools, you can make a lot of them yourself, recycle them, you know, from other things that they have previously been, find them in antique shops or like thrift shops. My intention here is to tell you, you don't need tools at all. You don't need nothing or one. You can use your hands. You don't need all these different things. Just because you saw all these really beautiful tools and really nice objects on Instagram or whatever, it doesn't mean that you actually need to go out and drop hundreds of euros or dollars on these different things. They can come with time, but once again, it's really not necessary. Wicca and witchcraft is for the most part about your belief. It's about your intention, it's about your mindset, and it's about how you live your life. It's not how many tools you have on your altar, or if you have an altar that is, you know, Instagrammable or super lovely and super big and bold. It's really not about that. It, for some people, can enhance the experience. I like to have an altar, but you don't need one. It's just something that is additional. It's like the cherry on top. Tip number 10 is you can really substitute any tools you want. So if you do want to have tools in your practice, you don't need to, once again, go buy every single little thing. If you don't have a flame, use a wand. If you don't have a wand, use your hands. If you don't have a pink candle, use a white one. White candles substitute any other color, so that's an extra little bonus right there if you didn't know that already. So if you are unsure what to substitute what with, Google honestly is your best friend in that case. Just, you know, do a quick Google search. Tip number 11. If you miss a sabbat or an esbat, it doesn't make you less of a witch. I think a lot of people might think that if they are not practicing and doing a ritual every single sabbat and every single esbat, and you know, they're not making the most out of every single full moon, that they're not a real witch. That is not the case. You're still a witch even if you forget a couple of full moons, or if you didn't practice a beautiful, bold ritual on a Sabbath. It doesn't matter, you're still a witch, you're still a Wiccan. It's okay. People sometimes forget, sometimes we're busy, or sometimes we're just not in the right mindset, sometimes we're just too lazy, and that's okay. Don't be too harsh on yourself. But once again, it is your mindset, it is how you live your life. That is what makes you a witch, that is what makes you a Wiccan. Just because you missed a full moon, it doesn't mean that you have committed some witchcrafty sin or something like that. It just means that you forgot a full moon. Tip number 12 is to practice meditation, intuition, mindfulness, and visualization. So these 4 things are really great for any beginner to get into, because they will just once again enhance your entire practice and your entire experience. Now, meditation is great because you'll get to know yourself, you'll get to know your craft, and you will get more into touch with your surroundings. Meditation is great for spellcraft, for your mental health as well as your bodily health. Meditation is just a great thing to be practicing. Now, mindfulness, you are just really in the moment. You're experiencing your surroundings in a different way without taking away from the magic that surrounding has. When we live our day-to-day, I think a lot of times we forget how incredible it is that we are even on this planet. Now, visualization is a technique that really will also be great for if you are interested in like things like the law of attraction, if you are looking into manifesting certain things into your life, and also for spells. A lot of spells, you are going to use a visualization kind of technique. It is really important for you to know how to visualize and to make the best of it. The same goes for your intuition. A witch's most powerful tool is the intuition. Your intuition will guide you throughout your life. It will let you know when something is wrong, when something is right. We can learn how to strengthen our intuition by listening to it, by meditation once again, by being mindful. So all these different techniques, they really work together really well in creating this like masterful combination. Tip number 13, spells should not be your first option. Now, we encounter loads of obstacles throughout life, and spells should not be your first option for every single obstacle that you encounter. When I first learned about witchcraft and when I first learned about Wicca, I was actually advised to use spells as the last option. Now, I'm not necessarily sure if you should be using them as the last option. However, I do think that spells are not shortcuts, and it is a good idea to discover or look at other options before you look into witchcraft. You know, it is a powerful tool. You don't want to necessarily just use it for everything. So if you're having a fight with a friend, try to communicate first. If you are feeling pain or if you're not feeling well, go to the doctor first. Tip number 14, spells take time to work. Don't expect a spell to show results the next day. It's probably not going to. It might, but it's probably not going to. It might take a week, a month. It can take a little bit longer than that. Sometimes spells just don't work. And then once again, we're going back to meditation. It's a good idea to meditate on why it might have not worked. You can adjust it, especially if you have written everything down. You can have a look, maybe there was something that you did wrong, maybe there's something that you can adjust, and then you can redo the spell. Or you can have a look and feel with your intuition, with meditation, why it might have not gone right. Maybe there was a reason, maybe it was not the right time. Maybe you were just not meant to have that in your life to begin with. Maybe there's something better out there waiting for you. Maybe your focus was on the wrong thing. Give a spell some time and let it do its thing. Don't rush it. Tip number 15. You are still a witch even if you don't practice daily. Now this kind of tip is a little bit similar to the one I've previously mentioned. I just really want to make sure that you get the message. A witch does not have to practice every single day to be a witch. You are still a witch or a Wiccan. Even if you are not practicing every single day, you don't have to. And that was 15 tips, but here is one bonus tip. Nature is your best friend. Tip number 16. So Wicca in particular is all about nature, your connection to nature, right? And witchcraft, a lot of witchcraft is also based on that connection with nature. Most paths are really kind of about that connection in general. So nature is your best friend. If you are not feeling inspired, if you are feeling down, take a walk in the forest or on the beach. It'll really help you figure out where you maybe want to go. I understand that right now it might not be the easiest thing to do with the entire situation going on right now, but in that case, if you have a houseplant, go cuddle your houseplant. If you have a pet, go cuddle your pet. Hold your crystals if you have any crystals. Just connect to nature. We are so confined in our apartments, in our homes, in our phones, especially right now. Open the window for some fresh air, soak in the sunlight or soak in the moonlight, whatever. Just experience the magic that nature has to offer. So those were the 15 tips plus a bonus one for beginner witches and Wiccans. And I hope this was kind of informational. I hope this helped you out a little bit. If you like this video, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. It helps out my channel a lot. And if you have any more tips or if you have any more tricks and techniques, do write them in the comment section below. I think a lot of people would appreciate that, myself included. With that being said, thank you so much and blessed be. Until next time.